Hey everyone, it's the Building Code. Zach Witovich here.
And I'm Charley Birtwhistle.
Got a great episode today. It's all about numbers. Or is it?
Oh, wow. What a teaser. Yes, today we have Timothy Wingate on, who is going to be talking to us a little bit about his company. What's the name, Zach?
G+F Business and Financial Consulting.
G+F Business Financial Consulting. I asked Zach because this is once again one of Zach's friends that he once again met on another trip. So I'll be kind of third wheeling this interview, but I'm excited to learn. I heard nothing but great things. I think that what I'm hoping to learn out of this interview, because, you know, me being a podcast host is secretly just my Trojan horse to talking to experts and learning constantly, is just how the kind of accounting process fits into the, you know, scheduling application and your project management application. I know a lot of times people talk about, you know, cash flow in the construction business, and I think that a lot of times these types of things get overlooked. So I'm going to be taking a ton of notes, I'm sure, throughout. But otherwise, yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, Timothy's a man. You know, you meet people and you kind of just like connect right away. There's like an energy.
Yeah, like you and me.
Took a while for you and I to get there. See what I mean? Timothy and I connected like immediately. We were talking shop. When I was working with customers as my job, and you know, still get time to spend with customers, but not nearly what I used to, and like consult with them. We just started talking about, well, how do you handle this process, and what do you tell customers about this? And it's just so great to have people like Timothy in our builder community.
Right.
He's an amazing human, and you know, owner of an accounting consulting business in construction, where it's a kind of a rare thing. There's not all that many of them. So I'll stop gushing. It's going to be hard. You're gonna know the chemistry right away. Let's get them in here. Hey Timothy, welcome to the Building Code. It's great to see you again. Charley's picking up a theme in the most recent episodes that we know each other. You know, there's something there. As you know, I think you're a fan of the Building Code, but it's your first time on. So welcome. It's great to have you. How are you?
I'm doing well, brother. It's good to be on, you know, a show that I've been a listener to for probably at least the last 3 years. So it's just good to be on here and had a chance to meet you in person at the coalition. So I'm excited. Just excited about what we're gonna talk about, and just kind of ready to get into it.
Well, before we go too far, we always like to give you an opportunity to kind of talk about, like, we brought you on the Building Code. You know, we talk a little bit about you in the intro, but you know, give us your side. What do you do? What's kind of your play here with us bringing you on?
Yeah, so I always start off first, as you know from my presentation. First, I'm a husband to my wife of 13 years, and I'm also the father to 3 lovely boys. You know, they're 11, 6, and 5. No, I'm sorry, 7 and 5.
There you go. Your wife's she's gonna love that one. Come on, you can't even get the kids age. We were just talking about before how fast time goes. I get it.
Oh man, too fast, too fast. So, you know, that's my motivation. That's why I get up every morning and do what I do, is for my family, for sure. Been in accounting. Well, had my own accounting firm for 7 years now. Started back in May 1st, 2016. Yep, I got that date right. and before that, prior to that, I was CFO and / CEO of a nonprofit organization. Ran that for about 6 years, and so just really grew up in the construction industry because my dad is a builder, and he's a general contractor. So, and he's still building today. And so we, you know, just really wanted to niche down to something. And what better than construction, since I knew it? I grew up in it.
I love it. Yeah, we got to connect on that down in the Arizona Contractor Summit. You know, let's start there. Like, I'm really interested in, you know, that influence of your dad in your career path. Like, did you love being on the job site, or is it something you found later? You just kind of like, you tried to get away from the family biz and it just called you back? You know, how did you kind of continue in that construction vertical?
I tell you, that I would like to paint the perfect picture and say, yeah, it was all roses and petals, and I just wanted to be in the construction industry all my life, but that's not true. Just like any dad, when we were kids, we didn't have a choice. In the summer, you're working in the sun in Florida.
In Florida, you're like, you know what? I'm going to be an accountant. I can't do this.
Oh man, don't make me laugh too hard on here. But yeah, I found out quickly that I needed to be in the AC, and so I need to do something that could keep my job in the AC. And I respected what Dad did. I mean, he built a lot of great buildings, houses, taught me a lot in the field. But I wanted to actually stay away from construction, so that's why I didn't even start the business niching down to construction when I first started it.
Yeah, so I think that's what I'm kind of interested in is the construction vertical that you're talking about is what's kind of the key differences between construction accountant as opposed to kind of a traditional accountant, and what is kind of the specialization that comes with being in the construction vertical?
Yeah, so number one, first of all, you can't be just this traditional accountant with contractors. These guys are, hard workers out in the field. They love working with people they trust. They want to build relationships. So you have to be relatable, and you have to have some type of personality to be able to keep up with these guys and talk with them about their business. So I had that naturally. As you can see, I'm not a natural, bookworm accountant who's kind of, monotone. And no, I have personality because I grew up in that arena. And so you need to understand the lingo, because there's a lot of construction terms that are thrown around all the time. And if you're not familiar with those terms, when you're coding receipts and coding invoices, I mean, you'll just be clueless, and you wouldn't be able to add value to the decisions they will have to make regarding their finances. So definitely knowing the lingo is another thing. And then construction accounting is a very specialized accounting. It's just like nonprofit accounting, manufacturing accounting, and then you have construction accounting. Very specialized. It's more managerial type accounting. So where you're formulating the reports and cost codes in a way to help you read reports. Because when we read these reports, now we need to make decisions based off what we're reading. But first we need to know how to put the report together. And so that's what a construction accountant does, is say, hey, what type of business are you running? What are your goals? What numbers and things you need to have at your fingertips to make decisions out in the field? And then we need to build your accounting structure to support that. And so that's what is unique about construction accountants. We actually know how to put those reports together for you. And also we know how to guide you and say, this is the right tech stack you should have. And these are the things that should be integrated together for the construction business to flow properly.
Yeah, you're kind of speaking my language there. I'm a data scientist by trade.
Okay.
And a lot of times, people will ask for certain reports or ask certain questions. And the first question is like, well, do you have the data to even answer them? And the more important question is the data set up properly to answer that? So when you're talking about setting up your cost codes properly and things of that nature of, okay, if you want to make decisions off of where we're spending things or what things are happening, well, step one is zooming out to the beginning. And are we tracking it? Are we tracking it properly? So I could definitely see the nuanced nature of, if you don't understand the construction, not even construction accounting, but just construction processes of like, okay, here's where your manual labor is going to come into play. Here's where your materials are going to come into play. Here are the suppliers you have to buy from and the subcontractors you have to work with. Here are things that you're going to want to track to make, like, it's so nuanced. Like anyone coming in without construction knowledge would just be lost trying to do the accounting, right? Is that oversimplifying, or is that like, it's kind of all or nothing? There's no gray area.
Yeah, you're hitting it spot on. I mean, and sadly, the case is always, for the most part, these guys are starting their companies, and usually they're starting, like I said, they like people they trust. So they're starting with a family member running the books. and this person has no idea how to structure the books in a way that makes sense for a construction company, but they've been doing it for years and they've been hustling. And then you'll see they really don't have a good process on how they estimate jobs. Like, are we estimating, just because I walk in the building and I say, hey, yeah, I think, this is about 1,200 square feet. Yeah, we're going to just throw a number and say that's what it is. And we're going to mark it up 40% because 40% should, be enough money, enough profit on the job to take care of all my bills and do all those things. So there's no concrete, type of system or methodology that makes sense when they're running the company. And so I always, my heart goes out to those guys because they're trying very hard to do the right thing, but they just need someone to come in and get them organized and just help them see these numbers so, very plainly and simple. So yeah, you're hitting on the money.
They don't call it estimating for nothing. Just kind of
Right.
throw a number and hope it works out. It's amazing how many people I've met that, they come to Buildertrend and they've been in business for 20 years. And they're like, tell me about your estimating process. Like, yeah, Jim's just kind of been running through the truck. Like, and we've been making money. I don't know. Is that bad? And I'm kind of like, it could be better.
Yeah.
We could probably improve that.
I remember we had this was probably 3 or 4 years ago, Zach, you may remember, we launched a survey and it was to Buildertrend customers and non-Buildertrend customers. But one of the questions is, do you know or do you understand the difference between markup and margin? Mm-hmm. And it was like 50-50, I think.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of insane. And you hit the nail on the head, Timothy, is because it has worked, right?
Yeah.
But people don't know that it can work better. And I think that's what Buildertrend's trying to solve, and that's what you're trying to solve.
Mm-hmm.
But
Absolutely.
what I'm picking up, you do the accounting side, but it sounds like you also, G+F Consulting, you're also doing those types of other processes for your customers. So you kind of, with your experiences bringing on and kind of saying like, this is the best way to estimate. And then it ties to this. And something I would love to get into as well is you asked a really profound question at the contractor summit about what's more important, the schedule or the estimate. And I was like, this is obvious. And I was kind of wrong. So let's start with, what kind of service you provide your customers. Then I want to get into that experience because it kind of surprised me.
Yeah. So I like to say, if you're looking for all the bells and whistles of what G+F can offer a construction company, we become the back office. We become that support team to the contractor. So we're handling all the books. We're doing all the recording. We're paying your subs. We're paying your vendors, suppliers. We're sending out invoices, all those things. Now we're working together. We can't do it alone, in a silo, but we work together. But primarily you're inside of your project management software. In this case, we always pitch Buildertrend. And then where we live is, in all the other things. So that's kind of how we like to establish the relationship, and it gets the guys out in the field or more into the role that they desire to be in, which is probably business development, going out, finding new business, doing all those types of things. So we consult on a number of things like, hey, what's the best way to pay subs? How should we set up our bill pay process? How should we invoice? How should we train our staff? That's something that's different because construction is big on safety. So one thing that kills a construction company is they always talk about, hey, we can't find guys, or we're losing, good workers, and then we can't find good workers. Well, my answer to that is, what type of training program do you have established? Because if you were offering good training, the people won't leave. And if you were offering good training, the people will want to come because they were like, man, I can get trained by the best. They have a great system. And so, hey, what type of systems and technology do you have to train your staff, get them onboarded quickly into how we do things here at this construction company? So that's always something that I'm preaching on and talking about all the time, because training is what's going to sustain your business. It was going to make it scalable. So that's mainly what we do. And then of course we do, all the accounting stuff. And then we close the books month in, year in, and file your taxes. We can do tax resolution. We have done it, for some guys we've onboarded who had some tax issues coming to us. We don't enjoy doing it because it's a very lengthy process.
Who loves dealing with the IRS,
Right. So
either Florida or the federal IRS.
Yeah. I can't. I mean, I got a case that's been going on for 5 years.
Oh my God.
So just, feel my pain.
We need more people like you, Timothy. That's
right.
Sainthood.
Right. So that's kind of what we do in a nutshell is in how we serve a construction company. We become the back office.
That's amazing. So yeah, let's get into, at the Contractor Coalition that Charley was not in attendance for, you asked the question, what's more critical for construction to have to a bunch of contractors who run construction companies, the schedule or the estimate? And Charley, what do you think the answer is?
Wow. Well, you're
first game on the spot, I think, on the building.
You're putting me on the spot here. Maybe we start doing. Maybe this can be a segment or something like that. Is like, let's ask Charley construction questions
out of nowhere.
Yeah. There we go.
I'll give an answer, and then if I'm wrong, it will spark.
We will replace you as host finally.
I was gonna say it will spark good content, and we'll grow our viewership.
Awkward.
I guess in my mind, I would think that the estimate would be more important because you would need to build your schedule off of kind of what you'd established in the estimate, right? Like if you don't know what you're purchasing or how much you're purchasing it for or how much you're invoicing or how much you're going to make until you get that figured out, you can't really start to build your schedule. Now I could be completely wrong, but that's my question. That's my answer.
All right. Guess what, Charley? You fit in the 90%?
99%. And me too. I was like, this is obvious. Like,
yeah.
And the way you proposed it was like, it didn't feel like a trick question. And then when you were like,
right,
it's the schedule according to Timothy. And I was like, wow, okay. That makes Buildertrend even better.
Let's think about this, right? So, because these are questions that I always pose to my father, and he will give me answers and explain to me, the reason why, because he's done some nice projects, this commercial and residential. And so when we talk about estimating, so let's talk about it in contrast to scheduling. So I get estimating wrong, but I get scheduling perfect. So what can happen in that case? I can finish a job on time, and then I can make the money that my estimate told me I would make, whether I lost money or not, whether I did a good job estimating or not. So I didn't make the profit margin that I set out to make because I estimated something improperly. So I forgot a whole building that we had to build. But I still finished it on time. I'm going to lose money, but now I'm probably never going to make that mistake again. I'm going to get that right the next time. But if I don't get a hold of scheduling, so let's say I've estimated something perfectly, but then I really suck at scheduling. So when my schedule gets thrown off, no matter how great of a job I've done in estimating, I'm going to lose money. Why? Because now something that was planned to take 3 months took 6 months. And then now I had to pay my staff 6 months worth of pay versus 3 months worth of pay. Because guess what? They're still coming to work every day. And then, I forgot to order materials, the right amount of materials. So now my guys came to work ready, thinking that, hey, Tim, you were supposed to have order materials. So now I got to give them some odd jobs. Maybe I'm going to have you guys work at the shop today. Or I'm going to have you clean up the site today. So that's what? Throwing away money. You're just throwing it away. So now when you get to the end of this project, you've lost so much money. You're so behind that you're on the next project, you're hoping that you can make enough money to make up for this 3-month loss because of bad scheduling. And so scheduling is the most important thing. You have to get that right. You have to know, and what's the problem? With human nature, scheduling requires you to be proactive. And so what? I have to sit down, I have to plan, I have to think about who's going to be coming on the job. Are we going to have 3 trades at the site at one time, or are we going to have 2 trades at the site? Are they going to overlap? Are they going to be in each other's way? Are we going to have the guys come in and start this part? Can we get concrete on this day? If concrete can't come on this day, what can we do instead and get something going so we continue to move the project along? Like, it requires you to be so proactive that's when you become a great project manager, and you're running a great company. And it's the same thing, like in an accounting world. Like, if we can get the construction guys to actually submit purchase orders, oh man, our life just became easy. You know what I mean? Now we can get numbers and data quickly and make these adjustments as needed because they sent a purchase order. But when we have all these, where did this Home Depot receipt come from? And
right.
There's 10 of them. And now, what is it for? Is it for lumber? Oh man, they actually bought lumber, electrical, drywall, and everything on one receipt. Now you just made my life a headache. So that's the type of thing that we want to get ahead of. And so scheduling allows you to do that. Being proactive with purchase orders allows accounting to get ahead of schedule. So it's just a lot of different things. So scheduling is the most important thing out of those two.
There you go.
In my opinion.
Well, hopefully I still have a job on the podcast after this. Actually, what we're going to do is when we get done with this, I'll go ahead and I'll re-record my answer and we'll insert that in there.
John doesn't like you that much.
But on a serious note, we always try not to make this podcast too salesy for Buildertrend, but the pain points you're describing kind of sounds like the pain points Buildertrend's trying to solve, right?
Well, that's what really struck me. Like, the first time I heard it, I was kind of like, when you think about it, that's probably what has got us here, Buildertrend, because that was what the backstory of Buildertrend for our listeners is kind of fun. It's like, it started as a scheduling tool that we kind of accidentally fell into at the request. There's kind of this lore of how Buildertrend started in our, the basement of, our 3 founders' parents.
Yeah.
And it was a scheduling tool.
Yeah. And they made it for one of their buddies that was working a job and needed something like that.
And that's why everything connects to the schedule in Buildertrend, is because it is kind of the true, and it really made me, I spend so much time in my own job thinking about the value of the software is the financials, because that's the back end, that's the office. Really, sometimes the basics, and really the schedule is a mini supply chain that if you don't have right, we saw it with the macroeconomics, it caused total disruption in the economy. It's like in a business, it's the same thing. It's smaller scale, but it's the same thing. Things aren't happening. Yeah. There's a breakdown. There's now a delay, and you're just behind constantly, and it's really hard to get back on track.
Yeah, it's logistics, and that's why we have Amazon. I don't know. They perfected the logistics process, and so that's why we can get next day shipping on a lot of different things. Logistics is so important in any company. How do we get from one point to the other quickly as possible and efficient as possible?
Yeah, so I think, I'm blown away by your.
Imagine an accounting episode turning into a project management episode.
Yeah, no kidding.
Flipping the script. This is why both of us are going to get taken off the building code.
Oh, what are you talking about?
I'm kidding.
I think this is gold. I think it's actually funny. A large majority of not a large majority, but I'll say a large majority. A lot of people, employees at Buildertrend, actually listen to the podcast here, and I feel like they're really going to like this one because you're preaching what a lot of us believe about the value of the software and stuff. So I
was saving this content for the pod. I didn't spread this around too much, Timothy. I wanted to come from you because they'd be like, Zach, you're making it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, no, see, this is what we've been telling you.
Thank you.
My guy told me. Timothy told me.
Zach's going to record this and bring it into our next meeting when we're talking about prioritization of the product. He's like, no, see, and click the play button there. And
there you go.
Yeah. So when Zach gets promoted again, he can, you better request some compensation there for helping him.
Nah, me and Zach are good, man.
Yeah,
We had such a good time in Arizona.
Oh, did you, Timothy? Oh, gosh.
Love it.
I'm starting to think that you two set this up as I go away.
I maybe had
I've heard 3 different Charlies off the podcast jokes. Charlie should have been in Arizona.
There
jokes.
may or may not be emails. We'll see.
Right.
Getting back to it, Timothy, I think what I'm kind of curious in is obviously you're very, very knowledgeable and passionate. At what stage do you typically come in with the clients that you're working with? Is it people that are trying to set things up from scratch, people who have been around for 20 years and finally realize that things could be done a little easier? Do people already have processes? Are they trying to establish processes, or is it kind of all over the place?
No. It's not all over the place. It's not. Yeah, no. What usually what we found out to be a good fit for us is someone who's figured out how to reach that $1 million. You know what I mean? Like I've got it. Like I got to this point, but sometimes they're at that $1 million mark, but they're just stressed out. Like they're working 68-hour weeks. I mean, they're just stressed out. They don't know their numbers. They're like, man, I just hustled. I just got to this point because of hard work. And I don't have systems. My guys don't use a time clock. I'm still writing checks. People still coming to, pick up checks from me. I just need someone in my corner who knows this part of the business better than I do. And that's where we seem to be best fit. I always say there's a Southern, little thing, somebody who's just sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like I'm just fed up, because if I don't figure this out, I don't know if I'm going to even run this construction company anymore. I may sell it. I may do something different because I'm starting not to like it or love it like I used to when I got into it. So some of the guys, they've been in it for, 5 years. I got a client recently who came on board and he was in it for 20 years. And he was like, man, Tim, like, and when I say recently, he's been with me for a year. So now his business looks totally different than a year ago. And he has actually, we have this thing where we try to, we say we want to increase a contractor's revenue by 15% every year. Well, this guy here, he's on his way to double it. So, and it's no magic to this. I always tell people too, when they come on board, like, hey, we don't have a magic wand where we can change your business in 3 months. Like that if it took you 20 years to get to this point, or if you got 20 years of unresolved whatever, it's going to take some time. And usually that time frame is somewhere around, 6 to 9 months before they start to see like the light, where it's like, oh, I can actually see where this is going, because a lot of it is just onboarding. It's me, telling you like, hey, now I want you to do things like this. So now you have to get in the rhythm of doing things like that. And then we're trying to create this baseline. That's the whole point. Like we're trying to create a solid baseline so we can say we can at least trust the numbers. And now we can start to, use the numbers to make decisions. We can tweak the numbers because we now know what they are. So it's a lot of different things. Like some guys, most companies I come on board with, they haven't done a labor burden rate calculation for nobody. They some of them don't even know what that is. And so that's one of the first things that we do. Like, hey, we need to do a labor burden calculation for every person that works here. We didn't know the true cost of the person that works here, and so that's one of our starting points, and just kind of getting the books cleaned up, just getting where we can trust the numbers.
I love it. And I think you make a great point overall. Like you can go pretty far with processes that are rough, but to be great, you have to have it really refined. I've kind of been like using this a lot in my own department lately. It's like our CS team is great. And to be great though, we got to do everything dialed in. And I kind of joke about like Kobe Bryant played basketball his whole life. And till the day he died, he was in the gym every morning, like shooting free throws things he's been doing since he like was born to do. And LeBron, like I know it's an NBA reference and everything, but it's like that's what it takes to be great. And that's kind of like construction companies or any business. It's no different. Like you have to pay attention to the details. They have to be thought through. And a lot of times it's not asking for major changes. It's refinement or subtle that then doubles or triples your revenue, right?
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Yeah, it is. It's just because you didn't know that you were losing money over here because you didn't have a true number of what that cost was. So it's like, oh man, I was spending $50,000 on meals. Oh, I'm being ridiculous, but that's kind of what the revelation is when you get organized. It's like, man, I didn't know I was spending that much. You mean to tell me I took $70,000 out of my business for distributions? I don't even know what I did with that. So it's just those simple revelations being brought up in our meetings and talked about. They're like, man, I gotta do things different. I gotta, and sometimes they don't even understand, like, oh, I'm an S corporation, but I don't pay myself a salary. Oh, well, now you're taking everything in distribution. Now you just called yourself a $15,000 tax bill because you took everything as a distribution and the business lost money. You had no basis, so it's just like all these different little small tweaks. And so it's just getting them to make those adjustments that automatically just turns into revenue. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, I think we had this was one of Zach and I's first episodes, but we had Russ Stevens on, and he gave one of the greatest quotes ever. Is like he works for another consulting company. He's like, a lot of the reason that builders don't want to go to consultants or advisors is because they're scared they're going to find out there was an easier way, and they spent the last 20 years giving up $15,000 here or there, or going through all the labor, or working 80-hour weeks. And it's almost like a, refusal to believe that I could have been doing this and I've spent this much time not doing that. So that's why we like having people like you on here, is to get out to our listeners. Like, even if you think you have it all intact, like at least take the time to look into things like this and be aware what's out there, be aware what the resources are. Get in contact with people like you, Timothy. Come to Buildertrend University. Talk to your other builders. Go to a cool contractor coalition if you get an invite. Like there are resources out there, and Buildertrend, like internally, we fall into this trap all the time. It's like we think that we're the only ones in the world, the only tech company ever that has faced this one problem. It's like, no, we're not. Every tech company in the entire world, there's millions of people trying to solve the same exact things we are. So swallow your pride and figure out what they're doing, and learn from each other, and seek out help where you need it.
That's it.
So if that's resonating with one of our listeners, what would you advise kind of their next steps to be? Do you have a website they can go out to, resources they can get a hold of, or what would you suggest?
Yeah, so definitely you can reach out to us. You can go to our website, either G+F.com, which is one domain, or our other domain, which may be easier to remember, construction.accountant.
Wow.
Construction.
Great URL. How'd you get that one?
Accountant.
Yeah.
So that's the best way to reach us.
Awesome. We'll link both of those in the show notes. Of course, we got
social media. We're on LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook too. But I don't manage those pages, so don't make inquiries there. Definitely go to the website for sure to make an inquiry.
I mean, construction.accountant is the easiest website name to remember ever. So nice job to your branding team there. We'll link all the socials and websites in the show notes for people listening. They can go out there.
Perfect.
Well, it was a pleasure having you on, and personal invite to have you back on. We covered a lot. We didn't even, we got into accounting, and then I was like, actually, but it was a great catching up with you, Timothy, and really appreciate you. And thanks for joining the Building Code.
Same here, man. It was, a dream come true for me, to be on the Building Code, to be a part of such a awesome brand, awesome software. Buildertrend is something that we preach to all of our clients, and we want them to get on because the integration with QBO is like the best. And that's what I want to do that. But yeah, so I would just say this: Buildertrend has the best integration with QuickBooks Online, hands down. and that's why we love it, and that's why I want all my clients on it. So I enjoyed being here, had a good time. I hope we shared a couple of laughs. Charlie, we'll see you at the next coalition summit, hopefully.
Are you going?
Get you
Are you going to be there?
Yes, I think I will be there.
Okay.
I talked to Brad, and Brad, he actually, no, Brad told me after the one in Arizona, it's like, Tim, we got to have you out in September, the one in Austin. So I'm sure that his team will be reaching out to me, and then we'll be making that happen.
Love it. I'll be there too.
Okay.
Have fun, guys. Zoom. Give me a FaceTime. We'll catch up.
We had too much fun on this episode.
Yeah. I was going to say, we're still recording, so we'll wrap it up here. Timothy, thank you so much. An absolute pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Thanks, Timothy.
Pleasure to meet you, Charlie.
I said in the intro that Timothy and I were going to connect instantly, and by God, did we deliver.
Yeah, you guys had a really cool gang up on Charlie bit.
My favorite.
There.
Sometimes it goes around.
I hate Timothy. I'm just kidding. That was incredible. I'll say this. I was messaging Zach on the side, like during that interview. I'm like, what do we have to do to hire Timothy at Buildertrend? Like, what is the lump sum of cash that we have to throw in his face? I think he's talking about, all his other kind of advisory positions and stuff like that. But he was incredible. I think listening to an expert and a true professional in the definition of the word, and just, the way he exudes himself, really connected a lot of the dots for me, and I would say validated a lot of the assumptions that we have at Buildertrend around what we're building for and what the pain point we're trying to solve is. I think a lot of times we kind of beat ourselves up and look at like these edge cases and think, oh, we need to do this and this and this and this. There's a million things that Buildertrend could do. But the schedule, like you said, is the backbone of our software, and you can tie all your financials to it. And that alone, listening to Timothy talk, is a game changer. So yeah, it was cool. It was a perfect interview to have on a Friday afternoon before a long weekend. I'm just like in a great mood about what we've done so far, and also just fired up about what we have the opportunity to do, because this is such a big opportunity in the space.
I totally agree. It took a long time for me to connect those dots. It's not super clear. And you think construction, you don't think business operations and the chain of events. He even used the word logistics. It's like you just kind of think like, oh, they build houses. Yeah, you got to buy stuff. And even when I was a newer customer success coach at the time, that isn't really apparent. So that's why I love talking to people who like live it, like grew up in it, and then now are in the profession, because there is a nuance and there is like an excellence, and there is a path to get there. And so hopefully if you're listening and you kind of look at where you're at, you kind of see like, we didn't talk about this either, but there are professionals that can do this, that you can trust and are a lot more affordable than like, having to hire someone or, consulting to like do it. Like there are these operations all over the United States, probably in your backyard, that can take some of that administrative pieces that you're maybe struggling with, give you advice. And some of what we've talked about is other episodes. It's an investment, there's no doubt, but what you get on the other side is totally worth it. So,
well, you heard him say in the interview, he's like, if you want an actual number of how much it's worth, they raise the company's revenue, on average, raise companies' revenues 15%.
And I'm sure he's got clients with more. I mean, it's amazing what partnership can really do. That's what's exciting, is construction's all about partnership. Like
it's more money and easier.
Yeah. Where's
and less work.
Yeah, sounds like a no-brainer.
A win-win. And they have the coolest website in the entire world, construction.accounting.
I know. I almost wanted to be like, how did you get that?
That's what I was thinking too. That'd be like me having, I wonder if this exists. Can I get like a Charley.Burtwhistle website?
Assuming
my kind of homepage.
You're gonna be like a business, or
I'd like a lifestyle blog, I'd say, like some sort of online journal. Like today on the Building Code, Timothy and Zach teamed up on me and made me feel bad about not being able to go on cool trips for the world to see.
For the record, we love each other. Okay.
Yeah, you and Timothy do. I can tell. I'm getting a little jealous. We better end it here. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. If you would be so kind to like, review, and subscribe, it does help Zach and I keep our jobs. So I appreciate that. Otherwise, until next time, I'm Charley Burtwhistle.
I'm Zach Matovich.
Thanks for watching the video. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for exclusive content brought to you by Buildertrend.